Okay, and now we are here. Welcome, everyone, and the splendiferous Superdiva Tarot. Sasha, welcome on board, my dear.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No, it was a pleasure. Remind me, when we met just once or twice? Just
One,
once. Only
we,
in London.
we met in London
We
in,
didn't meet in Portland. We didn't meet.
no,
No, pity, we missed that time. No.
no, I've never shared space with you in the United States. We were just together, we were together in London at the UK Tarot Conference.
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
It was
Yeah.
2018?
It's possible, yes. I don't know, but yes, I remember. I found the pictures last day, so.
And I think I was presenting a shadow workshop, and I think you were presenting as well, a new deck.
Yes, what I was presenting. I don't remember what I was presenting. I was talking too, yes. Maybe something about reading tarot, some new technique or something uninvented. I don't remember. I remember there was me, you, and Stephen Bright,
And
Kirsten.
Carrie Paris was
Oh,
there.
Carrie Paris. Yes, it was the first time I met Carrie. Yes.
And
Memory lane, sorry, yeah.
And Kathleen Matthews was in
Oh, yeah.
attendance. And I remember teaching, and I literally could not believe she was sitting there. She is so amazing. And well, I mean, I was just like, no, she's like not here, but she was. So that was a real highlight.
I have the first question because I cannot resist. I mean, we are here for talking around the imaginary cauldron. And I mean, I know that you are an actress and you love film. And so you have a lot of technique of doing, of course, but you are an author, you invented tarot. What is for you the connection between your film, your actress career, because you do a horror movie, and so it's very, very interesting because then you color with a little bit of horror your deck. Can you tell us something about this creative process?
Yes. So what's interesting, and there is very much a connective fiber between horror and acting and movies and tarot. When I was an actor, when I was first starting out, I was obsessed with the supernatural. I was obsessed with these creatures like vampires and werewolves and aliens, and that's always what I played. So I was never like a final girl who was getting, like knifed at the end of the movie. I was doing the killing.
Yeah.
And even if my character met some terrible end, I went down fighting, right? So, and that was very much the young part of me trying to kind of assert my power, find my power, because growing up in the 80s, I felt very powerless. And so there was something about the vampire, there was something about the supernatural that I felt like if I could embody that, then I would have power over my life, over my body, over what was going on around me. And so when I stopped making movies, and then I was a stay-at-home mom, and then I decided to make tarot a career without even realizing it. The place that I went to, and the place that you go to when you're reading the cards, is to embrace the supernatural part of yourself. Right,
Yeah.
you're in, and to plug right into those places where you know what you know, and you're in the moment, and you're feeling things, and you're like standing inside of your magic, right? And when you're reading tarot, it's exactly like making a movie, doing a play, painting a painting, writing a piece of music, or writing poetry. Because even though you learn and you have your whole tarot bag of tricks, when it comes down to the reading, you let all of that go, and you flip the card, and you root into the moment and into that other thing, and you see what's happening there in the moment, with honesty, and you greet that thing, and it's exactly, to me, it's exactly the same.
I love it. You know, when I was in the final stage of the Book of Shadows and Alchemist story, and I decided that I want to collaborate for the missing part of the story, of the narration, with people that I met in the world, in the tarot community. I have a list of person, and then I said, okay, but then I remember your passion for film and everything. I always saw you as like a Morticia Adams type, the dark lady, and I love your creativity and the way you were writing and explaining your tarot and everything. And I think that I mean, when I contacted you to help me to finalize the project, to write the part that you wrote and be part of the narration as a character in the graphic novel, I think what I like was this kind of playfulness and the ability of bringing something a little bit dark, the dark side in magic. And I don't want to say too much about what you've wrote because I prefer that people discover your character and everything while reading the books, otherwise it would be a spoiler. But I really like the ideas. And I think the connection that immediately create between us is this idea that tarot are like, if you think of a movie, is a sequence of still frame. And a graphic novel is a sequence of frame. You read jumping one frame to another and you create a story. And in the same way, we are reading tarot. You have a sequence of cards, a sequence of images. You know the meaning of them and you jump, you use intuition. You jump between one card and the other, connecting everything with a narrative. And at the end, you create a story. It is the same way that a graphic novel is written, in the same way that a film is written. It is interesting because at the end, I'm collaborating with you, with Rana Jor and George Matthew for this very project that has a tarot deck, a graphic novel that becomes a book of magic with other book inside, like a tome of the Alchemist and everything, and the film. So everything is connected, and I like that every one of us is working in the same fields, because even John wrote documentary and films. He participated to the creation of many films too. I think he was, if I'm not right, in the some famous movie of the Pirate of the Caribbean, maybe. He was the consultant there. I
Oh,
think so. If I remember right, he was there, but I don't want to, maybe it was another film, I don't remember. So, but it's interesting because he's been working as a historic consultant for filmmaking. So
mhm.
I think I love how every one of us is working in different fields and by the chance as almost the same. I mean, we are very fluid in that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what everybody. That's what we're all doing every time we read the cards, right? We're unfolding the story of who we are. We're creating new narratives in our head. We're creating new ways of understanding what's going on in our lives and how we can kind of like bring our best selves out of it and into like what's going on. And it's so funny because I was actually a dear friend of mine who's like a very best-selling author. I'm like, please make a tarot deck. I'm like, because people can interact with the world that you've created for long after they close a novel, right? Or
Yeah,
even finish watching a movie. A tarot deck is kind of evergreen as it sits on your table,
yeah,
waiting to be
yeah.
used and filled by you.
Yeah, but this is it's interesting that you say something like that because this is exactly the idea that moved me when when I started to work in the tarot community, creating tarot and everything. My first idea was just to create an exhibition about tarot. As a painter, I wanted to create an exhibition, but then while working on it, I realized that just painting oil on canvas was not enough because if you want to create something that has the feeling of magic, I need another media. So I started to do animations and I mean, the first animation I did for expressing my idea on tarot. I never worked on animation before, like the first film. I created it. I studied filmography while doing my first deck of tarot. So it's very interesting. I saw everything shift. And at the end, the tarot that was like a goal, it became like the pivotal point of a world I created all around them. So it's interesting. I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
What was your first tarot deck? How do you learn to read tarot? With a Marseille deck or with a Rider-Waite?
No, my first deck was a Rider-Waite tarot deck for sure. And actually, and forgive anybody who's already heard this story. I feel like I tell this story all the time,
Oh,
but
God. I'm the only one not knowing it.
you maybe haven't heard it. My very first tarot deck I bought when I was about 12 years old. And I got it because they were doing a fundraiser at school, and I thought, oh, I'll be a gypsy fortune teller, and that'll be my contribution. That's how I'll make money. And I was so excited because I'm a Halloween baby, and I thought I just figured I would automatically know how to read the cards. So I went and I got a Rider Waite Smith deck, at the mall, and I came home and I opened up the deck, and I didn't know, all the cards kind of fell out. You know how they do when you get a brand new deck and they're like really smooth, and they kind of spilled out across me, and I was utterly verklempt because I didn't know what I was looking at, and they seemed so confusing in that little white book. I was just like, what? And then my stepsister's friend, who was a born again Christian, saw the cards, scooped them up, and she ran outside. I lived on a farm, and she threw them into a dumpster and lit them on fire and told me they were the devil's work.
Amazing. This is so crazy. It's unbelievable. You know what?
That was a Rider-Waite Smith deck. But I will say, I did, when I started really getting to know the cards and practicing on my friends, I was using a very vague, like Barnes and Noble deck. You
Yeah,
know how
yeah,
you
yeah,
get
yeah.
Barnes and Noble in the
Yes, I
sales
know. Yeah,
section?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Weird. So
Memories. Yep. No,
yeah.
I think I started with Marseille deck.
Did
But my
you?
first deck that I seen use was the one that my mother was using. She was a tarot reader, and she was using Aiden tarot. So a very peculiar tarot deck, very complicated, very visually intense, and I love it. And I remember her reading the deck with all the cards on the table. It was very, very magic because I was a child, a kid, and so it's interesting to have an early approach of magic in this way. My mother was in the occult very, I mean, she was doing the automatic writing, the pendulum, she was doing a lot of stuff. And then she was mixing everything with, let's say, tradition, North Italian popular traditions, like something similar to what you do in the States for Halloween. But for us, it's a little bit spooky because it's more realistic. Like for the Day of the Dead, she used to have a glass of milk on the table before going to bed, and then some chestnut, boiled chestnut or roasted chestnut there nearby there, because so grandma will come during the night and drink the milk and eat the food, and the door of the kitchen was sealed, closed, because she knows that we will go there and spy looking for the spirit of grandma coming back home. And so it was very, very interesting because then, of course, she was run in the morning and tried to hide everything. And so grandma came to have the food and the milk and everything. And I think it was this idea of having a little bit of sparkle of magic here and there in little things in everyday life changed or shaped a lot my way of seeing life. And I think when I started to be an artist, I recovered everything I perceive, I experience in my childhood, and it became my job at the end. And so
Mhm.
it's quite peculiar to see how everything came. I never imagined that because it was natural. Magic was natural in my childhood. It was something that happened, everyone knows. I mean, because my mother was sensitive, so a lot of strange things happened, and but we were not allowed to talk about it. So it was a secret for the social stigma, because if you say your mother read tarot, you were beaten up at school, or you were seen like on the weirdo. And so it was a very kept secret. And I discovered in my 30s that my grandmother was reading tarot too. So the mother of my mother was another sensitive, and I didn't know it. So it's very, very interesting because it's something that we don't talk about because it's peculiar. So she was never able to sell readings or be public with that. But all the best friends that knew that, they were coming there, and she was reading for them. So I witnessed a lot of very interesting reading, very spooky, very fantastic, and I love it. I think I was hooked from my childhood in tarot. I was ruined by my mother. No, it's not ruined. I'm very, very grateful.
So I'm curious, as growing up in Italy, did when you started working with the cards, were there certain things like in the major arcana that were just immediately familiar to you just by growing up like in the midst of Duomos
Yeah.
and so much of that iconography?
Yeah, because thanks to my mother, what I mean, because I'm very curious, I always was very, very curious. So there was one side, there was the spooky, the magical side of the story. And then I learned tarot watching her because she never explained me these cards means that. Because I think for her it's like ruin the magic of the experience. So I never had a training in reading tarot, but I was always there when she was reading tarot. completely fascinated. And every time she was reading tarot, I was running there. While my brother, who is little than me, he was not interested in that. 3 years of difference. I mean, when you're 6, it's three other interests. So I was there and watching her. And I think I absorbed a lot of stuff there. And I like it. I really, really like it.
Hmm. Were you more interested in the person sitting across from her, or in her, or in the whole operation?
Absolutely her, because we have a saying that every time my mother says something like something will be happen, we will believe it. If someone asks you, do you believe in tarot? The answer was no. Do you believe in magic? The answer was no. But if the magic was my mother magic, no doubts at all. So it's very, very strange, but we have no, I mean, the nickname of my mother, I mean, she has two. One is very bad because we call it Hitler because she was very, very stern. But I mean, when we were a kid, but he's not a star. He was very, very normal, very sweet person. But the other one was the witch. We call it the witch. And she was very proud of it because she said, you know, her mother was called the witch. So he said, yes, I'm a witch. So pay attention on what you do, because she always told us, remember, if you don't behave when I'm dead, I come back and I pull your feet when you're sleeping in your bed. So, wow.
Oh, I love
I
that.
know my mother was really a dark lady, and I love for that. Sometimes she was really, really into the dark side, but it's with an irony that it was like a joke. I mean, it was not spooky. We were not scared. But then something really, really strange. This is I never told anyone because it's really, it's very personal. But when she passed away, that night I was not able to sleep. I didn't sleep all the night. And then in the morning, I called my brother and I said, you know, I was not able to sleep tonight. And my brother thought, oh, you too? I was not able to sleep either. I said, but not for the grief. I mean, the grief was there, but for another reason. My brother started laughing, I think, to know why I did the same. We were, every time we were closing our eyes, we were imagining our mother there at the end of the bed to pull our feet. So we started laughing and laughing because she said, she repeated this story so many times that we were waiting for her to come. So my brother is saying it was not the fear, it was expectation. So we were disappointed because she was not there. You promised it. Why you're not there? I mean, it was so hilarious to discover like something that it was repeated like that, like a joke during your childhood, then becomes part of you. Something that you expect for, I mean, waiting for, expect. It was
Mhm.
the most strange night of my life, believe me. Waiting for the ghost of someone you loved, I mean, it's very, very strange. But anyway, it's peculiar.
Have you ever had ghosts or spirits come through, not just when you were reading the cards, but like unexpectedly when you were doing your art, like when you were painting? Have you?
Yes, but not when it's very, very rare during the day. My channel is the dream. I have very strange dreams, like usually people that are deceased in my family to tell me to bring messages to other member of the family. Like one day I was at the high school and I have a very strange dream. I dreamed my grandmother, and my grandmother, I mean, it was in a specific position, well, strange, visually strange. And she said, say to your mother, yes. The answer of the question is yes. So the morning, because I was dreaming my grandma every time, bringing strange messages to everyone. So my mother already said, when I said I dream my grandma, my mother was already tense. And I said, well, I don't know what the question is. My grandmother said, the answer is yes. My mother started crying, and you have no idea. And she always refused to give me an explanation. Then, when I was around 30 something, she divorced from my father. And she told me, do you remember the time? I said, oh, yes, of course that I remember. I was shocked. And she said, well, the questions I was asking, she was praying or meditating, thinking about my grandma, asking her advices for what she has to do. And my grandmother told me the answer of a question. It was absolutely crazy. So whenever there is a problem in my family, in the morning they come to me and say, do you dream the solution? Do you dream ma or grandma tell you something? Because sometimes I have this dreaming. And while reading tarot, I have very strange, strong intuitions. You know, when you say, I have to say this thing, but you don't know why. And then the other person cracked on the other side and say, how do you know? I don't know. This is the point. I don't know, but I feel it.
Mhm. I always say, when that happens to me, it's like hearing music in a specific depth of the note, and it's
Yeah.
how you know that it's real, or at least I know it's real. It's my way of differentiating between my imagination and something that actually comes through. It's a very hard thing, I think, though, to articulate and to explain to people. You
Yeah.
know, if you say, "Oh yes, I was just randomly in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and a statue started communicating with me." That's, what do you mean? The statue was talking?
Yeah.
No,
I
but there's a communication, and it's so hard to put that into words.
I start talking about this kind of experiences I had when I moved here in London, to London. Before moving to England, I never spoke about my private experiences, the occult, or strange vision of dreams and everything. I kept everything secret. My mother knew it. Inside my family, I mean, the very strict and family, I mean, close family, yes. But even my father or my brother don't know a lot of stuff that happened between my mother and me with this kind of strange communication, because it was private, secret, and something you don't want to give too many explanations sometimes. And then, if you start talking about this kind of situation with people that is not used to, you started to be judged and you have to justify even more. And life is already complicated. And for me, it was always, no, growing as a gay man, as a gay kid, or you have lots of problems already in a very conservative country. So you don't want to add other problems because, it's enough. So you select very, very carefully the person to open up. And it is the reason why I ask only three people, 3%, and I really like and love, and I estimate to work with this very project. So you, Rana, and John, because I didn't want to have, let's say, intruders in the project, because I wanted to create a very strong connection. And I think the connection we had in developing the part where you are the main character was very fantastic, very great. I really love to create a character on a new persona, drawing as I see you, and not, of course, as you are. But I like this kind of process. I would like to ask you, what did you think about the illustration I did about your character? Because it's slightly different.
I I love it. Oh, I love, 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 love it. I think I think you said it, and I think people were saying it when I posted it online. Like, and there were, I don't know if you knew, there were like teenagers that I know responding to it and being like, it's like a mix of Jessica Rabbit and Morticia. So like, that's like my dream.
Let me see if I'm okay. I'm sharing a little bit of tons of images from this project, but I'm looking for you. And here you are. This is the original file, the PDS. I don't know if you see it. I don't
If
know.
only I really looked like that. I love it. I love it.
I hope you see everything in this way. I don't know, because it's strange, the visualization of the preview. So yeah, this is you, and then this is Rana.
So good. You got her so
Yeah,
well.
Rana is really, really hard. I know. And John, wait, I'm looking for John, because John have a very strange. This is John. And John, the first time he told me, he said, Andrea, I never had red hair. And I said, of course you have red hair. I said, no, I'm more on the blondish side. And so I have to look at John again. And then I call him and say, John, you're right. I always see you as a red hair person. And he started laughing and laughing and said, well, in your world, I'm red. I said, yes, okay. It's strange how your perception of someone is completely different of their own perception. It's something that really, really, well, this is me, the last person missing on that is not me. It's not similar to me. Let's say it's idealized version of me.
It's so. How long does it take you to create something like that? Like to do a portrait of yourself, or Reina, or anyone?
I think days. To create your portrait, it took me 2 days, because one was a lot of hours about selecting the pictures, and then I asked you to send me a picture you loved, because I was in panic, because when you have to create a portrait, I need to see frontal and the profile. So I have a 3D image in my mind of the person, because if the person is frontal, you don't see the shape of the nose. So I don't know how to reduce in pure lines. And then I did a lot of testing, a lot of lines, a lot of, the first drawing was very realistic, and then I simplified and created my own style, more, let's say, cartoonish, if you want to say something like that. But it took 2 days, so it's not that much if you want, but 2 days is intense, really,
Yeah.
really intense. John was the same. Rana immediately came. Rana was just one day. I don't know why, because it's funny.
She is like she's so larger than life in her je ne sais quoi. Like she's
Yeah,
almost, know what I mean, and I mean that in the best way possible.
yeah.
So I see why it
No,
probably.
for you, I have a lot of problems because it was the longest, because I wanted to capture some aspect of you, but I was not able to capture. Whenever I was putting there something that I see in you, the shapes, well, I mean, it was not you. It was not recognizable anymore. So I have to mediate, because I really wanted to have to convey this idea of spooky, dangerous lady, a dark lady. I love it because I mean, of course you are not like that, but I see you like that. I love this kind of ironic side and ghost side and spooky one. Is interesting. So it was quite peculiar, a
Wow.
challenge. I mean, but I don't do often portraits because I don't like it that much. It's always difficult because then not many people loves the result. So it's very, whenever, even in Italy, when I have commissions for portraits, I always say I do a metaphorical, metaphysical portrait of you. So something when you see maybe an empty space and all the object and the interest of the person, but not the feature of the person. Because every time I did something, the person, oh, I'm not like that. I'm younger. I'm more beautiful. I said, oh, gosh. And then you have to do everything again because, I mean, it's no way. So I stopped doing it. Too complicated. I want a life that is easier. I mean,
I'm dying to ask you, this is one of my favorite things about like creating things like movies or books or artwork. Has anything that you've ever created that didn't exist come to be? In other words, did you imagine something, or have you ever written or drawn something and then it appeared in your life?
I think every time. I think every time. Because, I mean, everything started with a vision. When I started to work on this deck, the deck was the first step in the creation of this multimedia project. When I started to create the deck, I started to have visions about the single cards. And so I started to draw the cards as they come into my mind. But the point is not that I was sitting on my desk, say, okay, now I think about a card. I was cooking and I saw a landscape. So, oh gosh, this is the landscape I need for this card. And then I was going back to draw and everything. And so you see, this is Ace of Swords.
Mm,
This is a Major Arcana.
it's beautiful.
Oh, I wanted to create, as you see, the landscape is always very, very strange. I wanted to create something, tree that resemble flowers or fungi, something like that. Something, every time, something very, very strange, like a space or strange land and everything. I mean, the shape and the iconography is typical Rider-Waite, but I remove from them all the aspect of the Christian traditions that I want to, because I wanted the day to be more universal. Because the tarot now are used in every part of the world, or in Asia too, is, I don't think it is nice to have Christian references. The other person is a Buddhist. Why you want to force us to have a Christian reference there? Then I'm not a Christian myself, so why I have to put it there? I always fight against the Catholic Church in Italy, of course, for obvious reason, of course, being gay. But so I never liked the Bible too. I mean, if someone want to follow it, if someone want to read it, is their own business. I always prefer other kind of books. So I mean, I don't despise it, but I don't like the use is done. I mean, anyway, well, you saw what happened recently in the States.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not nice. So anyway, Yeah, so
Beautiful.
now everything starts and every time is a vision, and even in the storytelling, when I have to create the story, because I decided, I mean, when I started to create this deck, and then I wanted to create the book of magic, I decided that the booklet has to be bigger, so a big format, and I wanted to recreate with that very book the feeling of magic, the sensation of magic. So when you open it, you see things that are crazy, ancient things, symbols, and then they started to move around on the page, and you have a graphic novel. But because I discovered this work of this sociologist, that is Ioan Petru Culianu, that he was a professor in Boston University when he was killed. Uh, he was a Romanian, he was a dissident, he was against the dictatorship in Romania. And so Ceausescu sent a killer and he was killed in this horrible way. But anyway, he was shot dead in front of the university, something like that. But he defined magic as a science of the imagination. So I started to read his book, and it's very, very complex, very philosophical, amazing. I love them. I rediscover a lot of things that I studied when I was doing philosophy at university. And this was the point of inspiration for me, because I said, okay, this is exactly what I want to do. Recreate the feeling of magic with my art, with multimedia things. And so the book of magic is in different format. I mean, it's different, non format, different shape, because it's a book of magic. You learn to use tarot, and then you have the fictional part. But the fictional part is pivotal, because through fiction, we can interpret and understand better reality. Think about science fiction. When you have, let's say, Blade Runner. Blade Runner is something that will happen or may happen if certain conditions come real. So you imagine you take something that is real that is possible in this situation. Like what happens if robot take control of the planet and you create a thing? What happens if women rights are deleted and you have the handmaid tales? And then you see now our reality is getting dramatically closer to the book. That is quite shocking. But when she wrote the book, she thought the book was so absurd, it was impossible to see. I mean, it's really, really interesting. There was a very interesting article on the BBC about it. I will share it after. But it is interesting. So I wanted to recreate a mythical and fictional history of tarot to understand better tarot, to convey the meaning, the power, because everything I did with this project is answer a question: what is magic? To answer the question about what is magic, you cannot use the language that, I mean, talking like now. We have to use the images, the sound, pieces of a film, a book, the tarot. You have to use magic to understand magic. You have to feel it, to perceive it. It's not something that you can describe. It's like describing how is a strawberry. You cannot describe a taste of strawberry, or maybe, yes, you can describe it, but I will never taste it with your description. So everything came together, and finally the project was done after 2 years. But I did a lot of research through ancient books, philosophy, sociology, psychology, and then, I mean, you see now the palette and the cards as in the final version. But I draw the first months was drawing the same card over and over and over again, looking for the right style, even for the graphic novel. I draw so many times the same frame, because every time I say, no, this is not colorful enough, or this is wrong. And so I found then the narrative and the style while working on it. And my process is, the story was written, because the story, I mean, I wrote everything, but I refuse to work as a storyboard. Even when I do animations of films, I don't work on storyboard. The storyboard is here. I write the history, the story, the plot, because I don't want to miss part, and because everything has to be consistent. But the vision are just, I don't know how to explain better, but if I do a storyboard, then my mind stop working. I have the storyboard and I follow the storyboard. If I don't have the storyboard, but I have the plot, when I have to film that part or draw the part of the animation, I remember what was in my head the first time, but then while doing it, I see better way of doing it. And so I change it. The story is still the same, but the way of representing the story is different. So this is scare people that work with me, because they say, is not, I mean, it's very dangerous, because if you change it too much, then people say, no, because the story is written. I'm a visionary person, and the visions come when they come. I don't want to force a film in a storyboard right now, because if I don't feel it, it would be crap. Sorry for the French, but it would be not nice.
Which is true, which is true of magic, you know, like you have to, you have to be in that kind of right space. Like you can't just want to cast a spell and hope to catch it when the moon is cusping on exactly the right thing, right? I think that emotional space that you're talking about, whether it be for art or whether it be for magic, is key.
Yeah,
It's key. You can't force it. Yeah, you
I
have
agree.
to.
I agree. And you know, what I love of this Johann Petrucciano is the idea that with the scientific revolution, we have lost a lot of our ability to believe in the imagination. Before the scientific revolution, before the shift of paradigm, the world where we believe in, think about the Middle Age world, of the Renaissance world. When you have a description of natural science, you have, I mean, the books on natural science, you have a butterfly, you have a plant, a tree, whatever, but then you have a dragon, and then you have an hydra, because for them were real, like the strange man with the big ears and three eyes, or on one gigantic leg with one gigantic foot, sorry, one. So for them was real, because myth and history, myth and science, everything was conglomerate together. Think about Newton. From one side, is the father of science, but from the other side, when he was secluded in his lab, he was an alchemist. He was playing with magic and potion and things. And I think this is really, really interesting. The ability of, I mean, maybe because, again, it's something that I was born to, because my mother was bringing to my childhood a lot of fantasy, a lot of magic, even the spooky one with ghosts and monsters and something like that. But I loved that. While my father was the opposite, was very rigid, very rational, very boring. Imagine if you're born in a family where no one is telling you stories, when no one make you believe, also every time there is a fairy, say, oh, fairy doesn't exist, you can believe in silly things. You destroy a world in this way. You destroy imagination. And I was attached to my mother in a way. I mean, I hate my father and I love my mother in a way. I'm really, really grateful for that, because I like this idea that she was feeding our creativity and our imagination. And I see my brother is doing the same with his children, and I like it. I love it. I think it's important. And a lot of friends of mine didn't have this approach in their childhood. There was the play side, of course, because you're a kid, but not all this part of the storytelling, the magic, the mystery. And I think what is best in life is the mystery of life. If you walk in a wood, knowing that nothing happened, that this is a tree, and nothing is, but everything is magical in a world. The tree are communicating between themselves. We discover a lot of stuff now. They are closer to what the ancient believe, the magic that they believe. So now science and magic, they are again very, very closer, or very, very narrow. It looks like two different explanations of the same phenomenon, of the same reality. And I love that. I live in a mythical, magical world, and I think I choose very, very well in coming here to London, because I immediately connected with the land, with the people. I really love it. I discovered all my friends in London. I have a very strong connection with nature here. I mean, for me, this is something shocking, because something shocking like to see a squirrel or a fox in the city. In Turin, Rome, you don't have natural element in the town. The town is for car, for pedestrian, maybe if you're lucky, for smoke and nothing else. There is no nature.
Let me ask you though, Torino is considered the gateway to the underworld. Like there's a
Yep.
lot of dark magic and a lot
Yeah.
of kind of portals throughout that city. And it's very close to the Sacre di San Michele, which is one of those sacred
Yeah.
cathedrals to St. Michael that lines up with 7 other ones
Yeah.
across like half the globe. So tell me about the dark magic in you. How
The
does that?
Turin is special because it's the vertex of the triangle of the white magic and the vertex of the triangle of the black magic. So it's a very, very unique city. But the Catholic Reformation, the Counter-Reformation was so strong they wiped out everything that was, let's say, Celtic, that was closer to the border of France. The culture there was Occitan, so the music was different, the language was different. It was wash away. So, and then people is very rational, it's very cold in Turin. I found more magic in Naples. If you go to Naples, you see the ancient history of the Greeks still there. It's the only place that I've really, really found in all Italy, the pagan spirit still alive. I have a very strong memory of a cemetery that is called, I say in Italia, Cimitero delle Fontanelle, so cemetery of the Fontanelle. It was a cave during the Greek period of the town. Napoli was Neapolis, the new city. It was a Greek city. And if you enter, the shape of the tunnel is not, of course, round, it's like a trapeze. So flat, and then it goes like that. Now is used as an ossuary. So, but a very special ossuary because they connect only the skulls. So you have pile of skulls all around, and the Napolitans go there whenever they have a trouble period of time. They go there, they select one of the skull, they brush it up, they create a little altar in wood and glass, very little, just to have like a box, and then they started to pray to the skull, to ask for the deceased, to intercede, and to help them to solve their problems. And I saw old women praying these skulls. Believe me, it's something that is so powerful, so amazing. The idea that you take care of is not even a relative, it's not an ancestor, it's a foreigner, it's something you don't even have the name, because it's just an ancient ossuary. So you don't know who this person who were. So I found it very interesting, and this tradition is alive today. And in Naples, there are lots of tradition like that. There are lots of alchemical symbols in the streets, in the facades of the buildings. There was a famous alchemist living there. He's the one to create the Christ veiled, the veiled Christ, the statue, that is so perfect. Believe me, you want to cry, you want to touch it. Because the veil is, I mean, it's marble statue, but the veil looks transparent. It looks like it was a real veil pose on a statue is shocking. I mean, is amazing. I love Naples. So I found more connection in magic in Naples than in Turin.
Interesting.
Wow.
So go and visit Naples, please. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. It's really, really magical. It's fantastic. Then the South Italian people are better than the North. In the North, they are quite cold. I hope no one here is from the North Italy. My mother was from North Italy, so it's okay. But I'm more connected with the South. The South is for me more open, more bright, more noisy. It's me. I mean, it's okay. I'm from the wrong part of Italy, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of Americans, there is no wrong part of Italy at all. It's quite
No,
magical.
I know. A lot of friends of mine that are in the States love Italy. I like it. I love it. But I will never be able to live again there. It's a cage. It's an horrible cage. You are not able to be yourself. You are not able to be free. I mean, as an artist, I was able to explode when I decided to work with your language, English, and to create everything, write in English directly or being translated by friends. I mean, American poets. Because in Italy, if you're a painter, you cannot illustrate a book. You cannot do animation, because otherwise you lose the status of artist. And so I have galleries that refuse to have my work because I illustrated books. And so, at a certain point you say, the big F, XXX all, and you move and said, it's enough. And the day that I decided it was enough, I packed everything. And I said, I will never step foot in this country again. And I almost did it. I was so fed up with everything I have to perceive that my move was not just a move like, okay, I want to be free. I don't want to hear anything again. I mean, I start reading a book in English, and I mean, I have a big shift of culture. Of course, this is not my natural language. I still have a strong accent. I love Italian culture, but the ancient Italian culture. I love Dante. I love classical music. I love opera lyrica. I love our city, our art. But I don't like people. Usually I don't like Italians. I have very few Italian friends in London. I don't want to fall in that trap again because they are so narrow-minded, but not because they are horrible people, because the control of society is so strong. If you take Italians and you put in another country, they are amazing people. If I go back, I start feeling something like, when do you put your head in order? When do you find us a serious job? Why? I mean, I received an email of a dear friend of mine that said, Andrea, are you not ashamed? You are doing tarot. This shit, you. And I said, I mean, sorry for the French, but she was exactly what she told me. It's this shit. How can you do something this silly? Why you ruin your life, your career? And I said, oh God, again. And this is a refrain that you hear every single day of your life, from your parents, from your friends. When I created the first deck of tarot, my best friend, a writer, so an artistic mind, the first thing he told me was, like the world need another deck of tarot. So thank you for the support, my dear. This is what happened, but not because they are bad, because he's brainwashed. Dreams are for children. Another best friend of mine said, oh, you always talk about dreams, Andrea. When you grow up, I said, never. So why you have to lose your dreams when you are grown up? I said, because you have responsibility. And I laugh at him and he said, I don't want to be your responsibility. This is a cage. Being responsible doesn't mean to be dumb, to be anesthetized, not to have dreams anymore. I mean, at 40, I changed my life. I came here to London, and maybe at 50, I will change again and I go to another place. I mean, I don't care. I really don't care. I don't want to live my life in this way. At 80, I will start to use LSD because if I cooked my brain, I don't care anymore because I'm 80. And I'm not joking. I always said, I'm 80, I will start drinking, smoking, and use LSD. So I know what I lost. Not before, because I don't want to ruin my brain because I love the brain. I mean, I need it working. So
Hilarious. That's fantastic.
Oh my God, I've said that for years. When I'm like 80, 90, I'm going to go back to smoking and I can't wait. I can't
let's
wait.
do it together.
Yeah.
So if they internate us, we can stay together. This would be so funny. Oh my gosh. But you see, what I love of tarot, that every time you talk about tarot, you ended up talking about life. And every time you talk about life, you start in talking about tarot. The connection are so strong, so beautiful. I remember the first convention of tarot I was invited to. It was a life-changing experience. It was in Australia, as I mentioned before. But for me, it was really, really pivotal because I met an amazing person, because it was the first time I was able to talk in English. This is not my language. So I was incredibly scared, incredibly nervous, and was, oh my God. I think I cried at the end of my presentation because I was so nervous and I was so sure to have said something horrible and not was able to express myself. I was completely in distress. But anyway, I love it. And I love it because the title I will always remember. It was something like Living Tarot, the Living Tarot. And I think the concept is incredibly powerful and incredibly amazing because exactly what they are for me. They are living. They are something that can, you can do everything with tarot. We can start creating a character. You draw some cards and you create a fictional character. You can answer questions. You can create stories. Think about Calvino. Calvino is the Italian writer, amazing Italian writer that wrote the Castle of Cross Destiny, Destinies, plural. Il Castello dei Destini Incrociati in Italian, where he create a square of tarot, and then all the column and lines are different stories, and when they intersect is where the destiny intersects. So there are the same character coming or something happening in a story, another character, when cross the line, see the same things happening from another point of view. It's an amazing book, and everything was so amalgamated in that conference. I really, really love it.
Mm.
No, it's amazing.
You have to come back to London, Sasha. We have to share the same space and do really something together, something crazy, or just even talk for hours.
I was this close. I would have seen you this summer. My daughter was going to actually do an internship at Los Scarabeo. And
Oh,
I was going to come over with her, and they had an apartment for us and everything. And in retrospect, I would have been kind of beside myself to be in Europe right now with everything that's going on. It would have felt very weird not to be here in the United States, like in the thick of it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we decided to stay home and kind of root into just some things that needed to be done
Yeah.
here. But I probably will be over in Europe, hopefully within the next year. I don't know.
I
It's
would
been a
like to come to the States again. I don't know for now when, because my life now is quite unpredictable and I really live by the day because till I don't have the citizenship, everything can happen here. So they can kick me out at every moment, even if I have the papers in order. I don't trust the government. I don't trust amazing country, but the mood is not exactly the best now with Brexit. So it was the
yeah, no.
best decision. It was dramatic. I lost almost all my friends here. I mean, you have no idea how many people went away from London. They came, I mean, people that was living here for 20 years were so pissed off with everything. They packed and said, okay, you don't want me, I go away. And a lot of people went away in this way. It was, it was very shocking, but it was very rude. I mean, I witnessed scene on the tube, so the metro of London, of people assaulting verbally people that looks that not British, like Asian looks or black people, with very offensive sentences like "go back to your country" and then very very offensive words out of the blue. So after Brexit, it was very very scary being in London. I mean,
Wow.
So this is something that's interesting, and I always look at this magically, right? Is for sure in every generation there's kind of a new consciousness that blooms, right? We knew what it was in the 80s, like when I was coming up. My daughter's generation, the intersectionality, the kind of new way that queerness is
yes,
experienced, non-binary. It's fascinating, it's mind-blowing,
absolutely, absolutely.
completely alchemical, because what is the world card but both masculine and feminine, which almost cancels itself out
The
and
Union
becomes
Mystica, the
non-binary.
devil. Yeah, exactly.
But what is horrifying, and it's not just in the United States but everywhere and all over the world, is this consciousness of rage that I feel like when zombies were like the hot thing on TV and in books, right? And you can always, because artists always kind of, they're writing about it and creating about whatever's coming up, before it comes
Mm.
up. So anybody who was paying attention kind of knew that this kind of rage, this cruelty, this craziness, this kind
You
of
know, what I,
energy of mayhem was his manifest. And so one of the things as a magical person, whatever, however I want to define, is well, how do we greet that? Like how do you stand firm
yeah.
and protect yourself and other people without becoming the aggressor?
Oh, I
Mm.
agree. I agree. It's very complicated. It's very difficult because sometimes you are so fed up by all the situations and you want just to
Mm.
explode. But I think the situation we are living now is just like the last movement of the dinosaur. The society has to change. There are a lot of things that are not
Mm.
working anymore. And so I think all these backyard movement are coming back to destroy or try to go back to a period of time. The Brexit, it was like the imperial London, imperial past of
Mm.
England. It's gone, it's dead forever. Fortunately for us, because this kind of imperialism has to disappear. There are now economical imperialism that is even worse, but anyway, because you don't see it, but you feel the consequences everywhere now. But I think the world is changing, and I think the new generation have the possibility of changing. Think about the ecological movement, Greta. Think about these kind of personalities. I like it. I think we will change, even because I don't know if you like Noah Harari, the historian. Is a Israeli historian. He's the author of oh my God, it's called Humans. Just the book is just Humans. It's an amazing book. Um, is an historian talking about the history of humanity from a very interesting point of view, like a storyteller. And he said, well, we are facing the biggest challenge now. Or we change, or we go to the mass extinction. So let's see what happened. And I think, I mean, I witnessed this part of history that is quite peculiar. but I don't think it's easier. I mean, my grandmother was facing the 40s with Hitler and Mussolini. That I don't think it was easier than now. I mean, every generation has to face his own ghosts and his own demons. And I think if you go on talking about magic, the magic of fantasy, the dreams, if you give people the chance to realize the dreams, they are less furious, they are less angry in life. If you give people the tools to realize themselves, you create happy personalities, you create positivity. And this is, I think, is my goal as an artist. Make you smile, make you think and make you smile. Show you a fantastic world that doesn't exist. And maybe you enjoy it. And maybe when you come back to reality, you bring something of what I said. I mean, maybe, I mean, I hope so. And maybe you change your way of thinking. Maybe.
Yeah.
But I would like to know, because now it's just an hour, but I would like to stay a little bit more if everyone is okay. I would like to see if someone has questions for us, because so we open the dialogue. If someone has a question, we can discuss, or something, curiosity, whatever.
Comments.
Yes, comments, whatever. We are here. Before going away and disappear to our night and your day.
I have
Hi.
a question, Andrea.
Hello.
Is it somebody else? I was just wondering, you had mentioned that when you were young, I think it was when I'm finding this whole conversation really fascinating and I'm enjoying it very much. You were talking about someone that inspired you, I don't know, when you were younger, or was it a teacher, an instructor, or a book that you read? And I didn't catch, I want to know a little bit more about that and who that was and what you read. And
I spent all my, because I was a very sad kid, or maybe I was an happy one, but when I was a teenager and I discovered to be homosexual, I found very isolated. I found very uncomfortable to spend time with my friends. So I was very, very isolated. I started to read books, and I always love books, but I secluded myself in the ancient world of Greek. So I read Plato, then I studied Greek, and I started to translate it. So I think the books were always, for me, interesting because I found more open-minded people that wrote books thousands of years ago, or poetry thousands of years ago, to live in person, that was surrounding me. So I prefer to spend my time with the deads through their opera, their works, than to the living. Then, of course, when everything changed and a book to change my life, actually, it was something really crazy. And this is the reason why I so love the card, one of the tarot, that is the devil. I love it because it's an alchemical figure. So the andronicity of the devil is the union mystica, the union between the two opposites, the male and female, the positive and the negative, in one unique figure, is an alchemical symbol. But the book that changed my life is the book about the devil. It was the Faust by Goethe. While reading that book, I so love the figure of Mephistopheles. There has this incredible burst of energy to dare to challenge the emperor. I mean, there is one day when Faust and Dr. Faust and Mephistopheles go to the emperor court, and the devil asks everyone to give in the golden coins and everything, and he's melting there all this gold with his power and create gigantic phalluses to shock everyone, and impress everyone in a bad way. And I love that part because it gives me the courage to get out of the closet and face life. So after when I closed the Faust of Goethe, I said, Mephistopheles is right. Life has to be lived fully, not giving yourself too many moral judges in a bad way. Of course, you need a morality, but not the closed morality I was living in. And so I exploded. And in a few weeks, I went out of the closet with everyone. I started to be politically active and everything changed. So a lot of books changed my life, but that one was the one that really was like the big change.
right, thank you.
No, thanks to you.
Hi, this is Davina. I just love you. I mean, I found out about you and you are making me smile and light up and making me think. And I live in Southern California too. So yes, and Pedro. So yes, and my sister's name is Andrea.
Oh, nice. This is
I love you.
Is a problem I have here in London. Every time, I mean, at the beginning, when I was down, I mean, going down to open the door to the postman, a parcel for Andrea. Yes, it's me. No, it's not you. It's a female. No, it's me. It's me. So every time I have to explain to Andrea in Italy is a male name. But anyway.
Yes, it's awesome. You're awesome. I'm happy to buy your book and your cards and everything. I just found out from Sasha, and Sasha, I love you too. You're in New York and I'm way out here, but I'll make it. So
we have one day we all will meet somewhere, and it will be a fantastic rave tarot party.
Yes.
Full of happiness, magic, and positivity. It will be fun. I love it.
Yes. So thank you for coming out of the closet and leaving Italy and being you and everything. It's so magical. Magical. Just yay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, the project will be on Kickstarter very, very, very soon. It will be at the end of the month, so 6 days, 5 days, and I will open the gate. And so you can see the graphic novel, the deck, the film, everything will be there, and you can share. Yes, the big package, not the big, the standard package will be everything included, with the big book, the tarot deck, and the film, all at once. So people can enter directly in the parallel world, enjoy everything. I mean, enjoy what they want to enjoy, but be able to play with every single part of the project. With Sasha, that is there, but I don't say why he's there and what he's doing in my story. Then John brought all the, let's say, the technical explanation of my tarot, because I wanted not to explain myself my tarot. I did it with the graphic novel. So I wanted him to write a technical writing, and he's amazing and poet. I mean, John is fantastic. One of my best friends. I really love him. And then there is, of course, Rana George. And Rana asked a very strange question, and she jumped into the story, and amazing too. But I don't want to say too much, because you have to discover it. Otherwise, is losing the taste of the mystery.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you to you.
You're welcome.
Can I join in? Can I say something?
Yes.
I've been most of the weekend watching bits of Glastonbury Festival on TV, and it shows how much we love you that we switched it all off so we could listen to you. But somebody said the other day when we were watching some of the coverage that one of the things that we're good at in this country, I live in the outskirts of London, is partying. There was this group of sort of arty people, and when they went around Europe, they had to actually do a show and a story. But here they could just party and do their stuff. And I think there is this, there are wonderful, positive strands of life and magic in this country, in Great Britain. But there's also the opposite, you know.
Of course,
is,
but
you know.
I agree. But I think that the magic side is so strong and so amazing, even in the religious aspect of it. Of course, there are people that is close-minded, but if you find everywhere. But I found incredibly amazing person too. And I think, I mean, I never regretted to have come here. I really love it. I immediately connect with the Englishness, the Britishness, and then the Scottishness and the Welshiness. I mean, amazing country with a lot of differences, very, very big differences too. And I like it. I mean, one thing that I really love with this country is the diametral opposite of Italy. In Italy, you have to conform, and everything is outside the norm is banned. Here, there is one word to describe myself of what I feel: eccentricity. Here, the eccentricity is a value. And I love it because I felt at home. I discovered that I'm not the most strangest creature in London. There are a lot of people that are weirder than me, and I love it. I'm not alone anymore. It's amazing. No, really, it's amazing. I think the they are two Christian countries, but a Catholic country is completely different from a post-Protestant one. I already discovered it when I was in Germany and in Holland, that I said, oh, wow, this is interesting, because there is a shift that is there. There is some value that is common, but then the way of living life is completely different. I love Holland for that reason. I like it a lot. I mean, I live in Amsterdam for a while and I really love staying there. So, I mean, because I didn't like to stay in Italy, every time I have the opportunity to jump in an adventure and go away, I jumped in an adventure and went away. So I travel a lot, really a lot.
Yeah, well, one of the, we have about 18 months ago in the middle of lockdown, we moved, we retired, and we now live, Rob is on the other side of the sofa, by the way, he is here. Not in screen. He has a
hello.
Yeah.
My favorite vicar. Hello.
but it's funny moving here because nearly everybody here is either a retired Anglican priest or the wife or husband of one, and everybody's eccentric. And now we're all retired. I think we've all like relaxed into our eccentricity. And I think of all the awful things going on in the Church of England at the moment about which is horrendous and about LGBT stuff.
Yeah.
There is this sort of strain of eccentricity which sort of goes with the slight fuzziness of the Church of England.
I love it.
Anything. Yeah. Whereas,
please, writing down everything, create story about the eccentricity you are witnessing, because
you must come and visit. It's a very odd little place. It's been here since the 17th century.
I will come and visit.
Windows, and now it's sort of clergy, retired clergy, and it's very magical. And their cats. There's quite a lot of cats. It's very magical, and there are a lot of people here who would, balk at the word magic, but it is very magical.
I love it.
And squirrels, and no bears. No.
Yeah.
I'm a bit disappointed about this.
This is even the country of Terry Pratchett. Is the country that, with a sense of irony that you never find anywhere. I mean, I love it.
You were talking about books. I mean, I come from a very rational left-wing family, so I had to find magic myself. First of all, it was C.S. Lewis and Narnia books. Then it was The Lord of the Rings. And
yes.
Called Brandy, and then it was Terry Pratchett. So yeah.
Yes, I started the webinar with Tabby with the question, what is the color of magic? And it was a clear quote from Terry Pratchett. So
yes.
No, thank you so much for coming here tonight. Other questions?
Andrea, can I say something?
Absolutely.
I would just like to know, and I know how creative you are. When you came to Australia, it was just an amazing experience. It was the wildest ride I think we'd had since I started with the Tarot Guild. And it was just like magic was happening every day. It was brilliant. How have you found your life must have, because you kept a lot to yourself in your family, and because of your circumstances growing up, you kept a lot inside you. How do you think around the world, the last couple of years with our lockdowns, because we've been here in Melbourne, we've been locked down more than any other city in the world for longer and more strictly. How do you think that impacts on creativity? Because growing up, I actually felt very isolated growing up in Queensland, because I had so much going on in my head that I couldn't talk to people about. But as I grew up, I found that isolation actually can breed creativity.
Yeah.
Because you've got nobody judging, you've got nobody looking. You are totally free to just let it run.
Yeah.
And in lockdown, we were so restricted but there was something about it that almost ignited creativity. Well, what was your experience with your
For me,
creative?
yeah, no, for me
and
it was strange
lockdown?
because the lockdown, because when I work on my world, because usually, I mean, if this is a little project, you do it, and then if there are collaboration, you see people, theater, I work in theater, so I have a lot of fun. With lockdown, I started to work on big projects like this one with the graphic novel and everything. And because it's like the rabbit hole, the classical rabbit hole, you fall inside and you find to the other side of the mirror of Alice. And it was an amazing experience. So I didn't suffer a lot at all for the lockdown because I was secluded in my room, in my studio, and I was creating and creating and creating. But then after a while, I discovered because you don't have anything to do, you cannot go out with friends, you cannot go out. I mean, you were ending up working day and night, day and night, day and night. And so it was exhausting at the end. When the lockdown ended up and I started to move, I realized that I was not able to interact with people anymore. That it was almost autistic. It was difficult to talk. I found that everyone was strange. And I didn't know if it was me, the stranger, because I wasn't able to resonate with others anymore or to listen. And then there was a strange energy all around, like, you know, mad people going out of the jail. So finally everyone is free. And so a lot of craziness around. And I felt like too much. And so I have to slowly reinsert myself in the society. But I have even anxiety when I have to take the tube. It was shocking to realize that I didn't remember anymore the stations. I didn't remember anymore how to go in places. And I said, oh gosh, this was a place I went so many times, and now I don't remember how to go there. It's very, very, very strange. But then something happened too. That is that let's say that whenever you are, let's say, close to us almost death experience, or you see the death of people you love, of friends, because I mean, with COVID, a lot of people went away, of course, I mean, died, passed away. And you give every single instant of your life a meaning and a weight that it was never before there, maybe. You start to appreciate everything. The friend that is a real friend, and you get rid of people you don't want to around anymore. You appreciate life better. And I mean, I decided that I didn't want anymore a lot of things in my life, and I made a big change again, getting rid of a lot of dust, let's say so, and enjoying everything better and explosively better. Say, okay, now I want to be happy, but I want to be happy because I want to be myself. I want to express myself. So now I think that from the moment I went here to live in London, I exploded. My creativity exploded. I cannot stop. I mean, it's 8 and I'm working. After that, I will write something, and then there is an email, then there is a drawing. When maybe in 1 week, I have to start to work on a big animation film, and I will be the only artist in the film. So I incredibly wait. But I mean, I cannot stop anymore. Finally, I'm free to talk, and people have to shush me now. Stop it, because it's a feeling of freedom that is amazing. I mean, everything is inspiring me. This morning, by chance, I discovered the poetry that Brandy was reading, and while listening to her, I have visions of the narrative, and I said, I have to illustrate this poem. I really have to do it. So I'm looking for having a second to do it. So I'm the one that while cooking is drawing, and I'm taking the shower with piece of paper nearby, because every time I enter in the shower, I have an idea. So it's an amazing, crazy life. I think that people don't like stay around me too much, because I am too much. I am too much energy. So to sedate me is maybe then people can stay around me. Having myself 24 hours around, I mean, be nearby me 24/7, I think is like an overdose. So not even my boyfriend stand me, so it's okay. No, I'm joking.
Thank you.
No, thank to you. Sasha,
Yes.
it was a pleasure to work with you on this project. And is the funny part is that not even you know exactly what happened in the story that you are part of, because I never tell you the details. So I'm looking forward for you to see everything and discover everything.
I just have to say, ever since I met you all of those years ago in London, I secretly hoped that we would work on something together. And when you reached out, like literally, dream come true. So thank you so much.
For the same, for me, it was the same. I really, really like it. I enjoy it, and thank you so much for everything. I'm looking forward to share with you and the world everything. It will be a fantastic project. I mean, the sharing, the talking, the communicating, and see what people say, how they use the tarot, how will they react to what you did in the story. Who knows? Don't sue me, please. No, I'm joking. You are fantastic. No, thank you so much for you. Thank you so much for everyone joining us. Above all, to people that is coming from distant part with distant hours. So from Australia, from the Philippines, from South California. So the world is connected in magic and tarot. Thanks to everyone. Have a splendiferous day, night, evening, whatever part of the world you are, and enjoy magic. Bye.